last week of April yearly, the world celebrates the life-saving power of vaccines, commemorated as World Immunization Week. On this episode of Health Options, the preventive power of vaccine is our focus, and we shall be telling the success stories of immunization in Nigeria. I am Salwa Khalil Ibrahim. Welcome. Nigeria cannot forget in a hurry its battle against polio, and the eventual win placed the country among polio-free nations on the World Health Organization's list. Still fresh in our memory also is the coronavirus pandemic that rocked the world both socially and economically. But thanks to untiring effort of virologists, it was contained with a vaccine. There is an ongoing immunization campaign against HPV, not forgetting a new vaccine against malaria that is already in use in neighboring African countries. All these to boost the human immune system against endemic diseases. Now, how is Nigeria faring in terms of preparedness to tackle outbreaks using vaccines? An immunization campaign which in the past was resisted in some communities. How far with the country's effort in research and production of indigenous vaccines? These, among other salient issues around vaccines and immunization programs, will be our crux of discussion. Trust that we are still connected to nature, so rest assured we have something for you on Nature's Corner. Stay with us. I am now joined in the studio by a vaccine advocate and an immunization foot soldier, Chika Kemi Ofo, Chief Executive Officer, Vaccine Network for Disease Control. Many thanks for joining us, ma'am.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Okay. Now, just take us through how far so far with immunization in Nigeria?
Success story. But of course, there's more to be done. In Nigeria, do you know that now we are not talking about wild polio virus anymore?
Good.
So Nigeria is out of it. So and that's a great success. And I also want to say that Nigeria has been very resilient to introduce vaccines that will reduce mortality rate. For instance, we have the rotavirus vaccine. So diarrhea has been killing many of our children in the past. But the government, it's an expensive vaccine, but the government of Nigeria has introduced rotavirus vaccine as one of the new vaccines in the routine immunization program. And what is routine? It means that children are able to access these vaccines for free. And then lately, the government has also introduced the human papilloma virus vaccine.
Yes, the HPV.
The HPV vaccine, which caters for cervical cancer. Many of the streams of cervical cancer that are dangerous, that are not good, that cause cancer, many of the HPV aspects that cause cancer are captured in that particular vaccine. So we are excited that at least our young children, our young girls, teenagers can start to take this vaccine. And Nigeria is also about to introduce the malaria vaccine as well. So in the nearest future, we hope that we're going to have that vaccine. So can you imagine malaria that is supposed to be the highest killer, not being the killer again of Nigerians? So it's a very exciting journey and a very successful journey. So the only thing we're asking for now is so many interesting things coming out, so many innovative approaches concerning immunization. Let the funds be available. It's very key that Nigeria has to be deliberate and intentional, making sure that the funds for these new vaccines and all the other vaccines are available so that we're able to purchase these vaccines, so that people, Nigerians, have access to these vaccines. Okay, now before we go to the funding part now, these vaccines, of course, are free, like you mentioned now. How are people now responding to these immunization programs? Over the years, we've seen maybe a couple of resistance here and there. Now, over the years, how has it been so far? It has improved, I must say so.
Okay.
In the past, people were not interested in immunization or vaccination, anyhow you want to put it, because there were so many misinformation, disinformation concerning it. Some people said it caused infertility. Some people had means that it caused autism. Different kinds of stories came out from that. But over the years, people have realized that many of these stories are not true. Today, Nigeria has, we're not talking of polio the way we're talking about it. Do you know what that means? That is a milestone.
Yeah.
That is a milestone. And then I have a story that I want to tell you.
Of course.
That is, my mom died 1995 from cervical cancer. And that was because at that time, there were no vaccines for it. And people were not knowledgeable enough as to the symptoms, the prevention, or whatever it is that is necessary. And I lost my mother. She didn't see me marry. She didn't see my children.
Oh, sorry about that.
But now there's a vaccine for it. That's one of the reasons why I'm a vaccine advocate. Every mother must see their children marry. So once children at the pre-teens age take this vaccine before they become sexually active, they can see better days. So for that reason, become a vaccine advocate as I am.
Okay, like you said now, as an advocate now, like you mentioned, polio is now a thing of the past, you know. Now, I know we have other endemic diseases in Nigeria. Are we going to see more vaccines coming in?
That is why we also encourage research.
Yeah.
Because the best way to make sure that most diseases become vaccine preventable diseases, to move them to that level, is more research has to be done, more work has to be done concerning it, so that we start to develop all this, make those diseases vaccine preventable. So the vaccines for those diseases come up. And then, secondly, awareness. Awareness is key. And then my beautiful country, Nigeria, should also start to think about producing their own vaccines.
Yeah, we'll get to that shortly.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I know over the years now, Nigeria have, I know a lot of funding, you know, and support have gone into the research, you know, of this vaccine that you were talking about now. How far do you think, how feasible do you think is this for Nigeria to produce our own vaccine?
You know, I like the theme for this year for World Immunization Week and African Vaccination Week.
Yeah.
And the theme is what? Humanly possible.
Yes.
So, I want to tell you now that it is humanly possible for Nigeria to produce their own vaccine. The largest, most populous country in Africa, with intelligent people, with capacity to produce vaccines. Nigeria can do anything they want to do. It is what? Humanly possible.
Yes, we can do it. I like that. Yes. So now I want to take us back a little now about the new malaria vaccine. We know malaria is a big issue across Africa and not just Nigeria. And like you mentioned, Nigeria as a most populous country in Africa. Now, why are we not seeing that malaria vaccine here yet?
It's coming. Be patient.
Okay.
It's coming. Nigeria was part of, you know, the trial, the initial trial. But now, Nigeria is going to get that vaccine. Have no fear. It is coming to Nigeria. They're doing all the necessary things that they need to do to ensure that the vaccines get to us.
But before that, are we ripe for that vaccine? Are we going to see people accept that? You
know, vaccination is based on trust and knowledge.
Yes.
There are two things I really focus on in my advocacy approaches and in sensitization. It's knowledge and trust. Once people are knowledgeable enough to know that this is a preventive strategy and all their questions are answered and they are in the planning, the designing of whatever approaches that the government wants to do, we will not have a problem. So Nigeria has to start to build capacity of communities now before the time comes.
Okay.
Before you introduce the vaccine, we give ourselves enough time so that people can start to ask questions about the vaccine. Is it this way? What is this question? And people start to answer these questions.
Yes.
So that when the vaccines come...
That is advocacy. I was going to ask about that. Are we doing enough in terms of that?
We will start. That's why we are NGOs. That's why we are here.
Okay.
Is
it too early to start?
It is never too early to give information, the right information. It's never early. The time is now.
Because I know in the past, maybe like you mentioned earlier, misinformation, disinformation has always been the biggest you know, factor and risk in terms of immunization. And then I know you've been to the hinterlands where you carry out most of this immunization. And now we are talking about this malaria vaccine. A lot of people out there don't seem to know what the malaria vaccine is all about.
Yes.
So what can we do to enhance that in terms of enlightenment and advocacy?
You know, I'm very happy about this question because I'm right in front of a studio where NTA is, and NTA is the reach everywhere. All hands must be on deck to create awareness. the government has to pull everybody together. You know, the beautiful thing about this is that the government has to take the lead. Because they are our fathers. They take the lead and bring everybody on board. Give the necessary information that people need to carry with them. So that whatever questions that people are asking, we bring it back to the government, they answer those questions. And this will back and forth so that the awareness is created. People, NGOs, CSOs, government, advocates, private partners, international organizations, all of us have to put our heads together. It is not one-sided. Media, the value of media cannot be overestimated. So that whatever information that is necessary to get to the furthest place, those furthest places that seem difficult to get to, people always get to them when it's time of politics. When it's time for politics, information gets to those places. The same way as information gets to those places, information will get to those places concerning the value of vaccines and the value of whatever vaccine we're trying to introduce. We introduced human papilloma, HPV vaccine was introduced, and it's still going, sensitization is still going on. And Nigeria has vaccinated many. As at a month or two ago, when we were part of it, they vaccinated over 4 million young girls.
Okay. Okay. We'll take a break now. When we return, we'll take up from where we stopped.
The world needs moms. With a splash of golden terra oil, a mom can transform a frown into a smile. Change no thanks into yes please. Resolve family feuds without blowing a whistle. Providing tasty family meals is all that matters. Where there are moms, there is love. Golden Terra Oil, for pure love.
TerraCube is available in beef, chicken, jollof and shrimp flavors at attractive prices of 50, 100, 200 and 500 naira.
TerraCube, unwrap joy, unleash taste.
Many thanks for being there. And if you just joined us, the program is Health Options, and we have been talking about World Immunization Week with my guests, Chika Offor. Many thanks for being here.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I know we've been talking a lot about advocacy, and I know it cannot be overemphasized. There are so many fears out there, you know, misinformation about vaccine, you know, some people, you know, still resistant. Do you see that? Do you see more of that?
Yes, we do see it. But when we did our research, because I came from the private sector into health, and I started asking, I'm a mother of 3 children, and I said, what will make a family refuse vaccination?
Yeah.
If they know it is good for their children. If they know. The operative word there is what? Knowledge. If they know. So what we should focus on, how do we make them know? How do we make them trust? So we need to create that knowledge. That knowledge gap is key. We need to bridge that gap. People need to know the value of vaccine. People need to see the value of vaccine. People need to trust vaccine. And it's true people. Who are those people that you need to talk to that people believe in? The message. How do you craft the message? Who are the messengers? What channels do you use for this message to get the outcome that you're expecting? What is the message? Who are the messengers? For instance, I'm not going to be talking about vaccine now, and then you take me, as I am now, to maybe the farthest part of the north. I can't speak Hausa. And then you now say, I should talk to them about vaccine. They don't know me. They don't trust me. So they won't believe me.
So of course there is a gap.
Of course there's a gap. So you have to have the right message, have the right messenger to get the right channel and get the right results. As simple as that. Vaccine is a trust system. Because somebody who is not sick, you're telling the person to take medicine. That's what vaccination is. So, trust, knowledge, 2 things that we need to focus on a lot. and we can't get tired of it. We can't get tired of sensitizing. We can't get tired of advocating. We can't get tired of making the system available, the demand side, the supply side. We can't get tired of making sure that the funding for immunization comes. We think about it. It must be planned for. It must be released. It must. It is a must. Nigerians must survive.
Now let's come to the funding part that you just took now. Do you think Nigeria is investing or funding immunization enough, or what do we need to do to boost this sector?
Okay, Nigeria has introduced 2 new vaccines last year.
Yeah.
That's extra money.
Yeah.
HPV vaccine is expensive, rotavirus vaccine is expensive. Amongst all the normal routine vaccines that we have, now we want to introduce malaria vaccine. Nigeria should prioritize. I don't think Nigeria does not have the money as a country. We should prioritize immunization. And then the states should also support. The LGA should support. Private partners should support. All Nigerians should support. You and I should support. If all of us come together as a country, there is nothing we cannot do. We'll be able to fund our vaccine story. You agree with me? I'm sure you agree with me.
Of course.
Because these vaccines save lives. The rotavirus, we lost twin girls. Hussein and Hassana. I can never forget it. I can never forget it. They died from a preventable disease. 2 beautiful twin girls.
Very sad.
Very sad. So now we have rotavirus vaccine to cater for some aspects. So getting those vaccines is the right thing to do. Making sure that there's funding for those vaccines is also the right thing to do. To reduce the costs of those vaccines, Nigeria has to start to produce their own vaccines. It's also the right thing to do. Nigerians, it is humanly possible to do the right thing.
Good. I like that. Thank you very much. Now, I want to talk about the World Immunization Week, of course, which is the crux of this discussion now. What are we doing right, and what do you think? Where do you think we should put more emphasis on?
Oh, yes. There's one thing I know that this government has done right, is by putting round pegs in round holes. So, in Nigeria, for instance, Dr. Pate, he's a round peg. He's been in the space.
Yeah.
So, the person leading us is the right person. If you look at all the other health agencies, all have the right people there. So, we have the right people. So now they have developed the right approach. The government has started what they call the basic healthcare provision sector-wide approach. It's called BHCP swap, which is like a basket of a basket where all funding concerning health and everything is put in one place so that there'll be no leakage. And they're working on it and trying to develop strategies. You and I, we are CSOs, we are NGOs. We should be on the table to make sure that we know what is happening. You, media, should be on the table. All of us should be on the table to know what is happening, to support them in ideas, in expertise, in whichever way we can, to make sure that this approach sees the light of day. Because if it sees the light of day, your relation, my relation, Nigerians will do well. Our lives will be saved. And guess what? It is humanly possible. It
is humanly possible. No. Now, on a final note now, I want you to re-emphasize what message should mothers, especially mothers, what key message do you have for this set of people?
Yes, for mothers and for caregivers, or people generally at the community level. The health center is there for you to make sure that when it's time for your children to access vaccines, please take them to the health center. And there's something the government calls the Patient's Bill of Rights. And when you get there, ask questions. Ask questions. Be bold and be courageous for your children. And then if something is not going right, report it. So these are the things we're talking about. Mothers, please take your children for immunization. Nigerian government has introduced so many vaccines. Don't allow these vaccines to go to waste. Let these vaccines do what it's supposed to do. What is humanly possible to do? That is to save lives. It is humanly possible to save all Nigerian lives.
Okay, it is humanly possible. Thank you very much for coming.
Yes.
Yes, and we have been speaking about World Immunization Week with Chika, of one advocate of immunization. Many thanks for the insight. Up next is our Nature's Corner.
Imagine lovely meals you can cook with these ingredients. You spend heavily, but no guarantee of a tasty meal. Not making a right choice of seasoning cube can ruin your meal, money, and confidence. For a tasty meal, do not compromise. Choose Gold.
Use Terra Gold for the rich, consistent taste your loved ones crave for. Good for soups, stews, and jollof. Terra Gold. One cube, endless possibilities.
Advances in technology, we've come to know that doing simple things like water, therapy or aquatic therapy would really go a long way in helping the body. This is the holistic approach that we talk about these days. Now let's look about the water or aquatic therapy. Let me try and differentiate this time. There's been a lot of confusion. People talk about water therapy. People confuse with hydrotherapy. People confuse with aquatic, therapy. Let's look at it from aquatic therapy. When you say aquatic therapy, you really referring to the physical exposure of your body in water, usually swimming pools. And because this provides divergent advantages in terms of the benefit. Number one, once you get your body into the water, your body becomes you gain what you call buoyancy. That means that the level of flotation, because your body is suspended in water, your body can move more freely. Especially people with arthritis, things like that. That if they are actually maintained, if they are to do some exercise on the ground because of gravity, they cannot do certain exercise properly. Take for example cases of arthritis with joint pains. The joints are very stiff when you are standing out in the air. On land. But when you go into water, your body kind of floats. So exercise that you are not even able to make on land, you'll be able to make as your body floats underwater. By this way, you are able to flex your joints even a lot better. By this way, you are able to make some flexible movements that you wouldn't do on land. For example, when you are under that swimming pool, you'll be able to turn around. You can turn your body in different positions. You can turn your body in different positions that you wouldn't have been able to do if you are standing up. Then you look at what we call, flexibility. Then you have so many other advantages. Things like it positions your body more horizontally, more in a way that it improves what we call the cardiac output. The exercise that you are getting, your heart is able to, do those exercises. Your heartbeat, heart disease, all will be improved. There is also what we call, resistance, improved, resistance. So aquatherapy gives you all these, advantages.
With nature's gift, we conclude this episode of Health Options. You can always catch up on these and previous episodes of the program on our YouTube channel at www.nta.gov.ng, where you can also leave us questions, comments, and suggestions. As I always say, take care of yourself. I am Salwa Khalil Ibrahim.